When there are no small farms left, there won't be any real food left. The more and more red tape that there is, the more you'll see bigger and bigger farms and less families and real food. Today's Sandbag Saturday topic is all about that. We are going to pick up our sandbags and talk about a Food Emancipation Proclamation that Joel Salatin talks about. Super important if you care about the food for yourself, for your family, for our planet. Let's prime our minds first. Let's go. So if you are new here, we start every day of the 5 a.m. squat club in a squat. Feet are underneath the hips. If you find this challenging, grab yourself a counterbalance and hold that out in front so you don't fall backwards. We're going to start with just a few deep breaths to start the day. You can think in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And then we'll speak truth to ourselves by choosing our first thoughts of the day. And that starts with I am responsible. If I need or want something in my life, it's up to me. If I don't like where I'm at, it's up to me to change it. Nobody's going to do it for me. It's on me. Next is I will make time between stimulus and response so that I give a better version of myself and not a snap judgment, a snap response. I have all I need to succeed today and will focus on progress over perfection. I can do it, especially if I focus on the daily step that needs to get me there as opposed to the big picture end goal. Take the steps, make the progress, small incremental steps. And then last is I choose gratitude. If you don't look at the positive, you'll only see the negative. And this is me speaking to myself. I've done this. The more I focus on the positive, the more I'll see that. So see what you're grateful for, what you already have, as opposed to what you're lacking. So I am responsible. I will make time between stimulus and response. I have all I need to succeed and will focus on progress over perfection. And then I choose gratitude. And then I move my body. So let us start moving. Every morning we start with our burpees, because we got to get up off the ground. Good morning, Jody. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Valerie. Team, Sandbag Saturday. So we're going to start like we do every day. Get the hands on the ground. Get your body on the ground. And then however you please, get back up and celebrate the fact that you can get off the ground. Especially at 5:05 a.m. Because most people are sleeping. Most people are not making that decision, especially on a Saturday, to be disciplined and stick to the path towards their goals. Most people are thinking about sleeping in and what kind of, relaxing, non-productive day they're going to have on this Saturday. But you're up early, prioritizing your fitness and health before the day starts. You're ensuring that you make progress while everybody else is still in bed. And that is something that is most people won't do. So give yourself that credit and know that if you maintain consistency, that any goals that you have are achievable. Consistency. You guys let me know how that intro sounded. I definitely had the monitor on and it was a little bit echoey. Spencer, good morning. Got you on the big screen. Fantastic. Yaroslav, good morning. How was the race yesterday? Yaroslav did a 21K Spartan race yesterday. I'm amazed that you're up and joining us today. How you feeling? Let us know. How did it go? A few more burpees. We'll get a little more general. And then Food Emancipation Proclamation today. Looking forward to that. We'll be talking about how big agriculture, big food is very quickly making it impossible for you to go and buy food from your neighbor or the small farmer down the road or any kind of unregulated food source, we'll call it. We'll do a few more burpees. I don't know how many we did there. Maybe 2 more. And then we'll get on the next step. All right. From there, we'll go knee raises. Valerie says, congrats. Oh no, Yaroslav, it's today. Starts in a few hours, starting warming up with you. Fantastic, fantastic. Valerie says, donated blood Wednesday. Says, already has me out of breath. I am also out of breath, Valerie. So next step, we're just going with our hip flexor warm up in the form of knee raises. You can stay on one side and get a bunch, or alternate with a march. Either way, trying to keep that standing leg straight, pulling the knee to the chest without letting the torso flex is the goal. Sorry, Yaroslav, I was way off on that. It's today, so good luck. Thanks for joining us for the warm-up. Is everybody with you? Everybody's up in, was it Blue Mountain? The whole family there. All right, from there we'll get into the good morning. So feet under the hips, send the hips back, stand it up tall, squeeze the butt. Debbie says, awesome, keep up. You working out with us this morning, Debbie? We've got a good topic. If you haven't been here for Sandbag Saturday before, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick up something heavy, something uncomfortable, and hang on to it while we watch a couple videos and chat about something important. So from there, lateral hip. So stand on one foot, and you can either just stand there or raise and lower the opposite hip. Whoop. Get, say, 10 of those per side. Just turning on the hip stabilizers. Everything that moves laterally, or what is that? It's not internal, external rotation. Maybe you know, Spencer, what was this? What is this called? What movement is that? Not remembering. Either way, 10 or so per side. And then we got lunges next. So I'm gonna go with a nice reverse lunge, touching that back knee to the floor. Jody says, burpees be like that. Breathe deep. Yeah, especially first thing in the morning. Definitely gets you out of breath a little bit. I'm gonna get the dry mouth first thing. Debbie, I checked out your channel yesterday and watched some shorts. I'm looking forward to, I know we talked about it the other day, but I'm looking forward to seeing your first video, whether it's exercise related or something else. Okay, from there we're gonna go on our backs and get our happy baby. So you're looking at, that's not what I wanted, it's so confusing. Knees up off the ground, arms go between the knees, and then you grab the outside of the foot. And you can go the side to side rock, maple. You can go forward, maple. Hey, stop it. You can take the feet overhead, maple. Get out of here. No. Little rock. Up and down, maple. Stop it. I've got the fuzzy thing on the mic and I feel like she's interested in that. Okay, and then set of air squats. So feet under the shoulders, hips back and down. Trying to get the hips below the knees if you can. Nice upright torso. And then drive out of there. Keeping those knees in line with the feet. Try not to let them fall in. Keeping an arch, if you will. Part of me is thinking about, we don't have as long a video today. Part of me is thinking about at the end, keeping the sandbag up and maybe like doing some squats or something. So we'll make sure we get warmed up just in case. All right, second round here, we're gonna get a little hip rotation. So knee up, out to the side and down, up from the side, out in front, and down. Get 5 cycles of that or so. Knowing that I'm not counting, so may end up doing a few more, but that's okay. Wonder if Megan's joining us today for some push-ups. All right, other side if you haven't. Hopefully we've all got a good heavy object to carry around today. Looking forward to that. All right, back to the good morning. If you want, you could stagger the stance and do, 4 or 5 on one side, 4 or 5 on the other. Just thinking about pushing that hip back. You're gonna feel more of the hamstring stretch on the front leg. And remember to squeeze the butt at the top. I don't do that all the time. All right, and then back to our single leg. And you can just hang out there. You can move the hip. If you want, you can do some golfer's deadlifts. I'm gonna do that. Just get a little more range of motion through that hip. Ooh, find the balance. Maybe 5 or 6 per side. Squeeze the butt at the top. That works. That turns the hip on. Other side if you haven't switched. All right, and then our lunges. Almost done the warm up. It'll be time to get into it with the sandbag. So a few more of these, then we'll be on our back for happy baby. Air squats, and then we're at it. Once again, great job for showing up this morning. All right, for some reason I thought it was Sunday, Yaroslav. There we go, that's probably why I'm confused. Okay, and then on your back. It's confusing this thing. One more happy baby. It's better when I'm not getting attacked by the dog. Much better. Oh, so far so good with the mic. No static. It's positive. Wonder if the fuzzy thing makes a difference. Oh, I could spend more time here than we do for sure. All right, and then last set of squats. Maybe 10. A little bit of cracking in the knees this morning, but so be it. Better a little crack than not being able to do it, I say. All right. I'm warm. 15 minutes of warm up. There we go. Let's see. Debbie says, yes, of course, hell yeah. Valerie, being short on blood makes everything get your heart rate up. Lol, yeah. I'll be good by next week. Yeah. So just take it a little bit easy. Yaroslav, we were having a lot of fun and good time together. So a lot of fun, except for these 21K today. It's going to be awesome, Yaroslav. You're going to have a great time. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. All right. So as I was saying here, today's Sandbag Saturday. What you want to do here is find something heavy that you can hold on to. So I've got a sandbag here that I'm going to use, but if you don't, that's okay. You could grab a dumbbell as long as it's going to make you uncomfortable. So this probably wouldn't do that for me. but you can grab a heavier dumbbell, kettlebell. And one thing you could think of is if there's a position that you could put that in that's not uncomfortable and you think you could hold it pretty easily, then just put it in a position that is more uncomfortable, like this, where it, maybe starts to make breathing harder or whatever. But you want to make it challenging enough that you want to put that thing down after 10 minutes or so. Another option could be, some bumper plates or something that you could hang on to, something like that. You could, I'm not going to demo it, but you could pick up your dog and hold them. She'll probably bite me if I do. You could put on a backpack, a weight vest. I've heard a heavy punching bag can go on the shoulder. Yaroslav often holds his kids on his shoulders. So all good options. Find something challenging. Pick it up. We're going to hold on to it. So I'm going to maybe get a warm-up rep, getting this up to the shoulder. Then we'll get the timer set. We'll get our video set, and we're going to get going. We've got a couple of videos to watch and some discussion for today. So if you do have a sandbag and you just want a quick demo on how to get this up off the ground, we can go over that right here. So what you want to think, first thing is a straight arm deadlift. So get yourself underneath the sandbag with a straight arm, and I'm going to deadlift it to the hips, followed by sitting down. Once I'm sitting down, I'm going to wrap my arms tightly around it, as close to my hips as I can get it. And then once I'm tight, I'm going to drive with the hips and kind of roll it up the body. That thing is pretty loose though, so it wobbles around a lot. So that's the idea. We're going to take a minute, get that set up, press the like button if you haven't already. And then we're good to go. So let me get what I need set up here. And then we're going to watch our video while we move. So counting up. 99 minutes should be enough. Let's get this set over here. Okay. I'm almost ready.
Switch to SodaStream and save up to 30%.
What I want.
My truly current.
We're getting there. I don't want to blow it first. But as you can see, we are listening to Joel again this week. He recently came out with this video. And he talks about Food Emancipation Proclamation is basically the title of this. It's not exactly, but he talks exactly about that. So that's sorry, as you can see, I'm just sorting out where this stuff is. For some reason, it's not where it's supposed to be. But that's the idea. Food Emancipation Proclamation. If you're unaware, emancipation or to emancipate is to become free of or separate oneself from, or I think freedom is definitely in there. So freeing our food, in essence, is what he's talking about. All right. Grab a sip of water, and then we're going to pick this up and go. I've got 2 videos for us for today. If you have questions or comments and you can hold your sandbag and do that at the same time, that'll be fantastic. That's what I'm going to try to do to change the videos. We'll see how it goes. If YouTube puts ads on there, which is pretty frustrating, then we will do our best to deal with that. I don't know how I can fix that, but I have YouTube Premium, so I'm not sure why we were having ads last week. We'll see if we can do maple off. Okay. Sorry, I've got too many screens here now. All right, team. We ready? Let's do this. 10 seconds. Picking up your sandbag, putting it on your shoulder or in front of you, however you want to hold it. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. I didn't even really talk about how I'm going to hold this, but either on your shoulder or in front. All good. All right. Let's do this. We ready?
Policy rant.
Oh.
And it's getting some traction.
Let's go right back to the beginning here.
My current policy rant And it's
Pay
gained some
attention.
traction. I'm not reluctant
Maple, no.
to let it go very public that I am seeking a 30-minute pitch platform with Trump.
The president.
There it is. Everybody knows.
U.S.
And there are some people in very high places that are agitating for that.
He'll make it happen.
For what? Very specific. A Food Emancipation Proclamation. What does that mean? What that
the
means
man.
is if you and I, as consenting adults, want to exercise freedom of choice to give our microbiome provenance agency, these are all phrases, right? We should be able to engage in a food transaction without asking the government's permission.
Hell
Period. Across the board. I don't care whether it's raw milk, homemade charcuterie, cheese, butter, tomato soup, bone broth, whatever it may be. Neighbor to neighbor food transactional commerce should be able to happen without a bureaucrat involved. Right now,
Hear, hear.
our food system is fundamentally enslaved and shackled.
Imagine bringing your side project to life
Why
just
is
by
it
thinking
doing
about
that?
it. Meet Base 44, a complete
Don't do that.
Food regulations enslaved and shackled to a plethora of scaled prejudicial food regulations that prohibit direct food trade, food transactions between neighbors without the government's permission. And if we're going to have a secure, safe, stable food system, we need to open up the oligarchy that Bernie Sanders is running around the country. And we got to stop the oligarchy, got to stop the oligarchy. We need to
impression.
open that oligarchy up to competitive pressure from thousands and thousands of smallholder farmers who are ready to access their neighbors with food. Here's something that's just come to me in the last 2 months. Literally, this is brand new. I mean, I'm just developing these ideas right now. For 30 years, people, my friends, people in our clean food movement have been preaching, get in your kitchen, buy a whole chicken, don't get pre-cooked chicken with a pop-up thermometer in it. Get in your kitchen and use it to prepare, package, and preserve food and all that. We thought 30 years ago, certainly I did, that by now the local food movement, the know your food, know your neighbor, know your farmer, know your food, all these agendas would bring to us a new domestic culinary interest. It has not. You'd like to think, all these food channels, with Guy Fiero and Julia Child started it, that certainly by now there would be domestic culinary interest. There is not. It's all vicarious. And Americans are now eating 75% of their food is convenience food. Most of that is ultra processed, which means it's got as many as 10,000 unpronounceable laboratory made dyes, additives, preservatives, monosodium glutamate, all these things in it that you can't have in your kitchen. So that horse, that convenience food horse, has left the stable. Now combine that with the fact that in the last 80 years, the American farmer's percentage of take of the retail dollar has dropped from 50 cents on the dollar to 8 cents on the dollar. The average American farmer is now 60 years old. In the next 15 years, half of all America's agriculture equity is going to change hands. Half of it. That's land, machinery, buildings. That has never happened in any civilization in history.
Let's just take a second there. He's going to talk about in peace times there. It only happens in war. But the point is, right, if you think of what a farm is, if you've got this picture in your mind, that is the small family farm, right? The people live on the land that they farm and they care. They're producing real food. The opposite of that, and where we're going, those small farms are being bought up because the next generation doesn't want to come back because of the regulation. It's impossible to make a living. Those farms are all being bought up and conglomerated by big business, and we're doing more and more factory farming, chemical agriculture, bad for the planet, bad for the humans. And if we don't have any more small farms left, if we go through this process and end up with only big factory farms, that's the end of real food, unless you grow it yourself. So, pretty important stuff.
It's only happened in war, conquest. Now, I'm not suggesting we're getting ready to go to war. All I'm suggesting is that if we peacefully make this level of agrarian equity transfer peacefully, we will be the first culture in the history of the world to do it. Which, as you know, is a tough way to bet, because generally you want to bet on the historical record. And so we're getting, you know, what we're hoping for is to defy the historical record. Well, how do you create that on-ramp? See, the problem is when young people can't get in, old people can't get out. What's the fastest way to let young people get into farming? It is to give them a profitable opportunity to access the market. But in order for me to get you a chicken pot pie from my farm, if I need to jump through $500,000 worth of infrastructure, licensing, and paperwork hoops to get you a pot pie from my farm, how in the world am I supposed to be able to launch a chicken pot pie business to my neighbor if to do one pot pie, I need $500,000 worth of infrastructure and paperwork compliance? This is the enslavement of the food system. And it's what artificially props up the oligarchy, because they're in and they have enough volume to pay the $500,000. If I'm just making a 5-gallon bucket full of bologna or charcuterie or homemade pepperoni or, you know, raw milk or something, you know, that $500,000 becomes a real shackle. So we've got lots of things here. We've got Americans yearning for, I'll just stick with chicken pot pie, yearning for pot pies that don't have MSG and red dye 29 and glycerin and antifreeze and all sorts of stuff in it. And there's no reason why chicken pot pie has to, I can make one and freeze it, give it to you in a cardboard box. It doesn't have any of that stuff in it. But the industrial food sector is now dominated by the leftover tobacco company chemists. You know, when the tobacco companies went out, those labs and all of that technology got snarfed up by, you know, Nestle's and Cargill and the big.
Just a little clarity there, if you're unfamiliar. In the 80s, basically the cigarette companies bought up all the food companies. All the major processed food companies, you know, like Kraft, Nabisco and all that. The cigarette companies, because they were becoming regulated, needed to find a different way. So they bought up the food companies and just made food more addictive by adding more, you know, processing agents and flavor enhancing. He uses the example of MSG, you know, cornstarch, high fructose corn syrup, all those other kinds of things. And I forgot where I was going there. Processed foods. I forgot.
Big food companies, that chemistry got dumped into the convenience food market, which they then profited
cigarette companies
from all of that value adding and dropped the farmer's share from 50 cents of the retail dollar to 8 cents of the retail dollar.
There you go.
So I hope you're following my track here, that we've got two things going on. We've got a yearning populace wanting choice in the food system to not get industrial adulterated food. We've got young farmers wanting to get in that want to sell these folks food, but between these consenting adults wanting to exercise freedom of choice, we've got a bureaucrat standing there that says, no, you've got to sign this paper and, you know, and you've got to buy $500,000 worth of stuff. Prototypes start.
Oh, come on.
Bleeding gums are a sign of bacterial infection.
This is frustrating. Sorry. Stick with me here. We're getting there.
We've got two things going on. We've got a yearning populace wanting choice in the food system to not get industrial adulterated food. We've got young farmers wanting to get in,
like us,
that want to sell these folks food, but between these consenting adults wanting to exercise freedom of choice, we've got a bureaucrat standing there that says, no, you've got to sign this paper and, and you've got to buy $500,000
Nothing wrong with hearing it again.
worth of stuff. Prototypes start embryonically. And when a prototype is too large, when it has to be birthed at a large scale, the baby is too big to be birthed. So what we have right now are thousands and thousands of wannabe, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed entrepreneurial young people ready to make unadulterated, authentic convenience food for their neighbors, but their dream is too big an embryo to be birthed. And so these are a bunch of stillbirths. That's basically what we've got. Now, to conclude, I'm not an abolitionist. My concern right now in the MAHA movement is that a lot of people are okay, we're on a wave now, we're going to outlaw glyphosate, we're going to outlaw Monsanto, we're going to outlaw factory, blah, 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 blah.
That might be me.
I don't want to outlaw anything. It's fine. Let it be. So I'm not an abolitionist. What I do want is a viable underground railroad.
Yeah.
So that those of us who want to opt out of that industrial complex enslaved system are free to do so. And if we have a viable underground railroad for those of us who want to opt out, I don't know what will happen. I'm not a prophet, but I can't help but believe with the access, the lower prices, because you don't have to have a $500,000 facility to do a chicken pot pie. I have to believe that this yearning of the American spirit to get authentic, unadulterated food will find its way to these neighborhood producers, and it will fundamentally change our food system to be safer, more secure, and more stable.
We are outside of the Lancaster County Courthouse here.
But we're going to chat for a sec before that. Keep holding your sandbags, obviously. The second one, this is basically a YouTuber. Her name is The Shepherdess. She raises livestock in Texas. But she also does a little bit of a news segment. And this was a couple years ago. There was a big story of a Amish farmer named Amos Miller who, and this is where the kind of underground railroad that Joel talks about, where these farmers will create, a private member system, in essence, where where in essence, you'll have a contract. So say we wanted to do this and we were selling raw milk. And we wouldn't do this because it's too much work, but you set up a contract and these people are signing knowing that, hey, this food was not produced or inspected in a state facility or national facility, whatever, but you understand that and you are still choosing to buy it because you trust these people and you've made this agreement. Just like, you went over your neighbors and they made you dinner and you accepted it, where you're not allowed to actually sell that. So Amos Miller has set up this private members association. He's been doing it for years. They've got thousands of families that they support and feed with healthy food, never had any issues, but the government has raided them, fined them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is a little bit of the story.
For the Amos Miller hearing. This is the rally preceding the hearing. Amos Miller has an organic farm in Bird in Hand, Pennsylvania.
Healthy food, real food.
His entire organic raw dairy operation has been put under an injunction by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. Today's hearing is going to determine whether or not that injunction will be upheld or not, whether or not Miller will have the ability to access his customer group with this organic food. The Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture obtained this injunction under the premise that Miller's food is unsafe for the public. However, Amos Miller has had 0 food safety complaints with the state from his customers in his nearly 20 years of business. This does not impact so much the small farmer as it does the consumer, and the consumer that would have access to private food and not public food. Are you a farmer, are you a consumer, or are you just a concerned citizen?
I am a concerned citizen.
I'm a concerned citizen.
All the above.
Are you a farmer, a consumer, or a concerned citizen?
Concerned citizen.
For what brought you out here?
My son, he has an autoimmune issue. He literally was down to 106 pounds December a year ago, and he's 5'10", 5'11". Amos Miller has been the one place that we can go to get whatever he needs, including like the bovine colostrum, things for his gut to help his gut health. There has been no one that's helped us. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't be eating.
I'm in healthcare, and I see people getting sicker and sicker. There's never going to be a cure. A healthy patient is no longer a customer.
Hell yeah.
They don't want to tell you about the good foods. And medicine is they're not helping.
All right, guys, why did you come out to today's rally?
We're here because we support food freedom and being able to buy the food that you want to from whoever you want to eat it from.
What kind of impact has food like Miller's made on your life?
Health issues that I've had in the past with pain in different areas of my body, changing to healthy food, the pain's going away.
I don't think people realize that when you put milk into a store, you're basically killing the milk by pasteurization. And even homogenization is linked to a lot of things. So
you are a direct customer of Amos
I am
Miller.
a direct customer, and I trust him. And I also know that if someone's going to get sick off something when it comes to raw milk, it is so rare. But these are members. This is not sold to the public. That's my private contract between me and Amos Miller. We go in knowing what risks we're taking, which to us are very little compared to what you're getting when it comes to the health.
What does this case mean to you as to how it will affect you or your community?
I think we have our priorities all backwards. You walk into any grocery store, you're eating poison, got an obesity epidemic, and now we're devoting government resources to persecuting the guy who provides real food to people
Taxpayer
who want to buy it.
An estimated 200 to 400 concerned citizens, small farmers, and even members of the Amish community came out to support access to private foods under a private membership. The hearing began at 1:30 with a packed courtroom and went for 4 hours, concluding after 5 p.m. No judgment was issued on February 29th, but the next day, on March 1st, the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture succeeded, and Judge Thomas B. Spinagle upheld the injunction against Miller Organic Farms, prohibiting Miller Organic Farms from distributing his organic raw dairy products to over 4,000 private members. A full recap from the courtroom, as well as a one-on-one interview discussing next steps in the trial with Miller's attorney Robert Barnes, are coming soon, and I will link them here on screen once they're available.
All right. So, turn that down a little bit. We're going to do a few more minutes here. We might do a couple squats as well, but I'm curious. We'll chat about this a little bit after we put the sandbags down, but I'm curious to know what you think about that. Is that something that you care about? Does it seem like, hey, that's not important to me? You know, I don't really care about real food. I put that poll up earlier. You know, is real food important to you? And when I say real food, I mean stuff, stop it. Stuff that looks like food. You know, stuff that doesn't come out of a factory. It looks like if you walked to an orchard, it looks like food hanging from a tree. It looks like if you went to a farm, it looks like an animal standing in a field. It does not look like a bunch of ingredients that you can't recognize mixed in a giant vat and then baked into some form that doesn't look anything like food. Spencer, government regulations are the best. The more the better. Yeah, so it's, you know, I'm learning more and more about this as I produce food a little bit. You know, one of the things that I would love to do is sell jerky. You know, we make our own jerky here. It is literally ground beef and salt. And sometime I'll put organs in it. So I'll grind up a cow heart and put that in there as well. And I've given it to people and it's fantastic. Like it needs to be refrigerated or frozen because it's not full of preservatives, but it's the best thing that a lot of people have had in that category. But for me to be able to sell that, first, that animal needs to be processed at an inspected facility, which they won't let you look at it, but they're not pretty places, right? When you hear about animal mistreatment and, you know, all that kind of stuff, that's happening at the slaughterhouses. As opposed to, if those regulations weren't so strict, I could have someone, or do it myself, come out here, butcher an animal, no stress on that animal, right? They could be in their natural environment instead of being loaded up onto a trailer and brought to a place that smells like death. We could do it in a no stress environment and care about that meat so much that it ends up, clean and the best quality, versus it going to a slaughterhouse, being full of cortisol because of the stress, and then being in a non-clean facility, right? Like if you want to find salmonella, it's not going to happen at the small farmer. It's going to happen at the massive facility. So if you care about real food, this is the point here, is you got to speak with your dollars. You need to support the local farmer. You need to go find those people who are actually making food, because food does not come from a grocery store. It comes from a farm. Find those people who are doing it. Give them your money. And then you will receive health in return from eating real food. All right. I don't know how much more I want to talk. Probably want to talk more, but this is getting uncomfortable. Why don't we try... We're going to go to 25, but we're going to do a couple squats here too. So on the minute, we'll do a few squats. Let's get some music on here, and then we'll call it after that. So 20 seconds, we're gonna do a few. You can do it from the shoulder. You can do it as a bear hug, whatever you want. I might bear hug, even though I can't breathe. 10. You can't see the clock there. My left hip is screaming a little bit. 3, 2, 1. 1. 2. Might do 5. 3. 4. 5. We'll do 3 more sets of that. Hopefully you guys are still holding that bag and thinking about what we just watched. I'd love to hear some questions after this. 20 seconds. Ten. 5. 3, 2, 1. 1. 2. 3. 4. 2 more sets. 30. It's doing great. Hopefully you're doing this with me. 20. 10. 3, 2, 1. 2, 3, 4. 5. One more set. Oh man, I'm breathing. $20. 10. Last set, team. 3, 2, 1.
I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll lose, not likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers.
Job, team. Great work. Take a minute, walk around.
And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains.
How do we feel? Give me a little feedback here. Holy. Great work. That was way different than just holding. We did 30 minutes last week, didn't we? Let me know. We got sweaty this morning. All right. Hi, Yaroslav, fire. Valerie, dead. / have a nice Saturday. Getting ready for camping now. Awesome, Valerie. Have a great time. Have a good camping trip. Jody, crazy combo, food, drama, and sandbag hole. Food, drama. All right, let's get into something here. My low back's a little tight. Why don't we do we'll just do the straight leg. And then this is gonna happen, but oh well. Oh well. All right, let me know. I know, Jason, I know you're into the whole getting excited over crazy government stuff. What do you got to say here? Oh. Jason says there's a movement out there that is leaning toward processed food, alternative protein, and feels heavily commercialized for monetary gains. A lot of regulations posed as for your safety are actually for financial gain. Yeah, I think that, understand that all businesses are for financial gain, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you can have a good purpose, and have a good mission and still aim to make money. And what I understand is that the more value you provide, the more your opportunities are to make money. So, aiming for finances isn't necessarily the evil here. I think, there's definitely a place where it becomes, hey, we'll do anything for money, and we will circumvent our morals to do so. And that's kind of the concern here, I guess, is that the people who are, who are creating regulation aren't intimately or aren't at all involved in that world, right? So the people creating regulations for farming are not farmers. The people who are creating food regulations aren't food producers. They're just bureaucrats. And part of the issue here, maybe a lot of the issue, is that there's a revolving door that happens between government and industry where, somebody can go and work in the government to create legislation around food and then retire and go work for that food company. So, or even vice versa, you're working for the food company and then you get a job in the government and then you go back, and there's this back and forth that's happening. And basically what's happening is those people are just making themselves rich, right? They're creating laws and rules that make it easier for those big, faceless corporations to do well and make it harder for the small farmer to do anything. And I think, most of us probably, most of us probably don't think about this a whole lot because we're not directly involved with it. But it's one of those things that, if we don't do something about it, we're going to end up in a place that we don't want to be. We're going to end up in a place where everybody's eating Raisin Bran for breakfast. Sorry, Spencer. And, you can't go down the street and buy a dozen eggs from your neighbor, right? That's the place that we are headed. And, you know, if you care about health, you care about that. And at the same time, if you care about the planet, and I know that this seems like, hey, Adam, like it's not as big a deal as you make it sound. It is. It truly is. If you care about the planet, then the commoditized, commercial, industrial, chemical, whatever you want to call it, factory farming system is extractive and doesn't aim to create resilience in the soil or in the process itself, right? It's all about extraction and looking at the soil and the earth as a medium for growing, as opposed to integral to the health of the system. I don't know if that was very clear, but I have obviously strong thoughts about this, and I think we all should, because we all eat, right? And, you know, maybe we don't personally care about it, but if you think about your kids or the next generation after them or after them, like if there isn't, stop it, Maple. If there isn't a way for them to have access to real food, where do we end up? You know, I think I bring this up every once in a while, the idea of WALL-E. If you've seen the movie WALL-E, I see us moving in that direction, right? The more you outsource your health and your... Maple, can you stop that? Jesus. Let's do this. The more you outsource your... Where was I going there? I lost track, but outsource your health, outsource your nutrition, everything. The more you outsource... Oh, WALL-E. Right. The more you outsource, the less... How do I say it? The less control you have, the less understanding you have. I think once we outsource, depending on what it is, like if you're running a business and you outsource something, hopefully you're overseeing it. But I think a lot of times we outsource and we forget, right? We say, hey, I'm not taking care of that anymore. Somebody else is doing it, eyes closed. And then we are assuming that the people that we're outsourcing it to have our best interest at heart. And that's the fatal flaw. I think that's where it is you think that, you know, and not that they are looking to screw you, but the government and whatnot is not looking out for your best interest. They don't care about you as an individual. Sorry to say it. So it's crucial that we don't outsource our food, that we, you know, make sure that we know at least where some of our food comes from, and, you know, ideally we're aiming to source some of it locally, and shaking the hand that feeds you, meeting that person actually making that food. Because if you don't see it, like, where is it coming from? Who knows what that is? I feel like we're on the wrong screen there. How are we still there? So this is very strange. The video shows that, like, we're not even there. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. All right, so on that note, we are... Let's just see what you guys say here, by the way. Spencer says, it's been Special K for years and years anyway. You know what I mean, Spencer. Special K is definitely not being made by your neighbor. It's probably not even being made in that country, to be honest. Jason, have you looked into how solar cycles affect quality of crops? I have not. You may have to give me more details into that question. I don't know. Jody says, so how do we make a difference as a single person out there in the wild world of supermarkets? Yeah, as I said, I mean, this is not an easy one, unfortunately, right? We've become accustomed to convenience, and as a result, it's become more and more prevalent. And as a result of that, it's become harder and harder to access. It's really stupid. To access real food. You know, I've got relationships with local farmers, and it's still challenging, because what you don't realize when you're in that supermarket world all the time is that, like, nature doesn't work that way. Think about this. You know, I can go in, Maple, stop it. I could go into the grocery store and buy, 100 pounds of ribeye steaks. Or let's say 200 pounds. Maple, stop it. But if you think about it, like how many ribeye steaks are in a beef animal? Not 200 pounds. So Maple. Sorry, I'm off today. So understand that that's coming from multiple different animals. And then from there, what are they doing with the rest of it, right? So what you need to understand is an animal has multiple parts. And this food system makes us think that we can just have one part. And that, or I could have 40 of the same part. But what you understand is that's coming from 40 different animals. And now you've got the rest of that animal to do something with as well. Or just the idea that, food is seasonal and I can't access, really, I shouldn't have access to bananas in Canada ripe ever. I shouldn't have avocados here. There should not be oranges, right? The things that we can't grow here should not be here fresh, right? We're transporting water across the country, across oceans. It just blows my mind. I can obviously go on here and not make any sense. So Jody was asking me about the Wild Rooster. Yeah, it's meet local people. It's get to the farmers market and try to meet people who are doing it. They're out there. If you live dead in the center of a big city, it's probably going to be a little bit further to do it. But the pride that you will find in meeting the person raising your food and the sense of, ownership that you can take over your food with that and knowing that you're getting better health, I think is well worth it. Personally, there's nothing more important, aside from your relationships or whatever, but there's nothing more important that you buy that you put in your body. Sorry. Nothing more important than the things that you buy to put in your body. Oh man, nothing more important than the things you buy to put, you get the idea. Fuck. You can go spend your money on a Tesla or on fancy things, but none of that has value if you're sick, right? So I value good quality food over all else. I would live in a cardboard box if that meant that, if I only had the choice between lodging and good food, as long as I'm not out in the wilderness starving or freezing to death or whatever. Food is it. Food is the most important thing that I can spend money on. Jody says, honestly, all I buy at any store is meat, eggs, and butter. Boring carnivore. Yeah, I agree with your food choices. But knowing what I know now, I would avoid meat at the grocery store at all costs. Realistically, that beef is coming from Brazil, and it is likely scraps, right? They're going to take out the best cuts, they're going to grind up the rest, and you're likely getting meat from 100, 1,000 different animals. There's no traceability there. You've got no idea where it's from, what it's been. I know what it's been fed, the living conditions that it's been raised in. Personally, obviously, I care more about this than most do, to the point where I literally move to the country and do it myself. But I wouldn't buy it. That's where I'm at. And because I care so much, I take that seriously. Health-wise, yeah, I would take store-bought meat, eggs, and cheese over store-bought anything else. But if it comes down to it, I'm obviously going to find a way to get local, well-raised food, even if it takes me a lot of extra work. That's just where we're at. Spencer, so your jerky won't survive a trip to Zurchistan. If currently we don't make enough to even get rid of any, right? We eat that so much that it doesn't last here at all. It's just, it's one of the packable snacks that we can bring for the kids that actually has some, that's not just fruit and sugar. So the jerky does not last here when it does get made, and really it gets made more in the winter anyways, but it's pretty fantastic though. Jody Lynn, in a weak moment, I'll buy pistachios. Is that your weakness? I like it. Life with Tashira. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Life with Tashira, do you have some live streams going on today people can check out? And then obviously you guys got to, I think everybody here has checked out Spencer's channel, but if you haven't, keep getting over there. All right, let's start wrapping this up. Let's talk about homework. Debbie, Jason, I think Valerie headed off. Yaroslav, you still there? We get up here early for a reason. We get up 5 o'clock so that we can carve out time to win our lives, right? Many people just float through the day. They just get through their tasks with no direction, with no purpose, with no momentum, with no progress towards what they're aiming for. We're not into that, right? This place is about making progress in your fitness, in your health, in your mind by learning about the world that we're living in, and at the same time, having goals and moving towards them, right? If you don't have a goal, it's time. It's time to think about it. It's time to consider, where do I want to be? If my life does not change, if I continue on this exact same path for the rest of my life, am I going to be content? Am I going to be fulfilled? Will I have achieved my purpose? And if not, and like I think most of us should be saying no, because if you're on track without changing anything, like, could you not be better? Define a goal, right? Look at what you want in your life or what you don't want in your current life, and start taking the steps towards that thing. Break it down into daily, bite-sized, manageable pieces and make progress every day. And that'll take away the anxiety of not being there, because you know that you're working towards that. And you start to believe that you're the person that can achieve it because you're taking steps and making progress. So on that note, it's homework time. Go get after it. Spend an hour, make that progress, and then enjoy the rest of your day because you know that you've accomplished already. So tomorrow is our active recovery day. Oh, and we're going to do a slightly different version here. It's we're going to go with a more of an animal flow. I've got a little video to show you tomorrow from Strength Side, and we're going to do a little bit of, call it animal flow, just a little bit different movements for our active recovery tomorrow. Yaroslav, when I was young, my father used to buy a big pig or a small bull so we could prepare the meat for the winter time. Those were good times. I don't even know if that's still possible to do now. I love that, Yaroslav. So good point, right? You'll hear, if you have some friends who, their parents maybe didn't grow up in Canada. You hear it all the time, hey, my mom or my grandma used to, like slit the throat of chickens in the bathtub. Or just like Yaroslav is saying, we would bring home a whole pig or a bull and we'd process it and load the freezer for the winter. Like, that's life. That's good quality food. That's how it used to be. And like, that's how you take accountability for your food. It is harder to do for sure. For you to go and buy a live pig would be a different challenge now, but it's still doable. It's still doable. And the more that we ask for that, the more consumers push for that type of thing, the more it'll become reality, right? It doesn't exist a whole lot because we're not pushing for it, because we've become accustomed to convenience, and we don't know how important it is that we get away from that, or that at least we have a parallel system so that if you want the option of good food, that it at least exists. Jody says, have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Coach. Yaroslav, have a great day, everyone. And then Jody says, Jinx. Yeah. You guys have a fantastic Saturday, and do your homework. Make some progress towards your goal. And I hope to see you all tomorrow for Active Recovery Day to get ready for a big AMRAP on Monday. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Peace.